Welcome to Scaling with Purpose, the show where we explore what it takes to build companies that aim for commercial success and meaningful impact. I'm joined today by Victor Daniyan, founder of NearPays. It's great to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you so much. My pleasure. It's great to be here.
Thanks a lot. Before we go into the full NearPays story, I want to start with something practical for the listeners. What is the one thing you have learned about building and sustaining growth that you wish to share with founders that are now in the building phase?
Great question. This has personally helped me in all of my endeavors, so I'll just share. The first thing is what I call continuous personal development, is where you make sure you keep building and working on yourself, that you improve on your skills in different segments, from your business skills, your leadership skills, to also having great knowledge about your product. Second thing is that you must be ready to be tough. Being an entrepreneur and a founder doesn't come easy. If not, everybody will be a founder or a businessman or an entrepreneur. So you should know that you're going to a tough terrain, and you should see failure as an opportunity to learn and even scale up better. So do not get discouraged at every point of failure, but see it as an opportunity to learn and use that opportunity to leverage on growth.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. I don't know if you have heard of Kaizen, and it's a Japanese principle where they say, okay, it doesn't matter where you start, as long as you keep improving every day, then you will get somewhere. And I think that is beautiful, and that is exactly aligned with what you are saying. If you improve every day and you have this learning mentality, and also you see failure as a learning opportunity, then you can become better and better each day if you fail or if you succeed. Because I believe people underestimate what you can learn from succeeding too. So you can learn from failures and you can learn from successes. And I think, yeah, what you said is really beautiful, and it also helped me to grow my business. So thanks for this very valuable advice. Yeah,
You're
so
welcome.
we can jump into your story because I'm super excited to hear more about NearPace and how you started doing NearPace. So what is NearPace actually?
Thank you. So our core focus at NearPays is to provide access to easy digital payment infrastructure. And
Mhm.
we're not just focusing on the elite or the educated. We want our products to touch everybody's life: educated, urban, rural, everyone, small business, large business. So we built our solution around these segments that we had in place. So more of having a mentality of financial inclusion from day one. And our core focus was to help businesses receive payment easily, regardless of your status quo. And having that in mind, we are able to build our soft POS solution that helps businesses receive payments with
Right.
or without internet connectivity. And it's been deployed in Nigeria, in Ghana, and also stepping into some other African countries.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. So actually, you're making payments accessible. And should I think mainly about the POS side, because you said you have the POS system? Is that your main thing, or is it like a mobile bank or something else, or is it a combination?
Great. So we started first from the POS side. There's
Right.
always a starting point, and then we got an opportunity to improve on what we have. So regardless, we also have digital payment in account creation, in sending and receive money across the globe. So we've also built our borders across what we started from in terms of product.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, so that yeah, very beautiful. I think you're making quite some impact on people's lives because I believe that having the possibility to access this digital money or digital banking in general is something that helps you to be included into the economy, right? You are only part of the global economy if you have a bank account or a way to receive or send digital money.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
yeah, yeah, super beautiful. And what made you start this? Because you're from Nigeria, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So as a young boy in Nigeria, was it always your dream to start such a business, or how did you come across this idea?
Great question. I think I never really wanted to become a full time entrepreneur. In fact, I had a job. I was working at Nokia under Microsoft, close to roughly about 3 years or so. And I've been in that sector. But along the line, I worked and partnered with a logistic firm in Nigeria that receive items,
Hmm.
the last mile and first mile logistics. I think that's the correct
Oh
one.
yeah,
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 they had an issue which was regarding payment. People had difficulties making payments.
yeah.
And because I was supporting them, the issue of payment was affecting us directly because it means without payment, you can't handle remittance and it was a whole lot of issues. So while I was trying to be innovative to solve
Hmm.
our own local problem in the logistic company, I did some research around contactless payment, and we were able to come up with a first prototype of our soft POS, and it worked to solve the problem. It was really nice,
Yeah,
and
beautiful.
yeah, after we did solve that, I had other logistic companies reach out to me to say, "Oh, can we use your product? It worked for you. Possibly might work for us too." And we didn't even have a solid product, I would say, but we were able to send it to them, and it also worked. And
Yeah,
after
super
that,
cool.
yeah, and after that, I thought to myself, "Oh, this might be a good product. Why don't I just refine it and make it better?" So for the first time, we took it back. We did some UX and UI upgrade to it. It had an
Mhm.
onboarding, and we pushed first to Play Store, and other people were able to download, and that was how we started first. It was not an
Yeah,
idea from beginning; it was solving a
yeah,
problem for mindset.
yeah. Yeah, it's a super cool. Of course, if you come across this type of problem, you solve it, and you, you just um, want to use it yourself, and suddenly people come knocking on your door, asking you to also become your client. Actually, and I think what you are describing here is what a lot of people are experiencing themselves, but they don't have the vision to turn this in a product. I mean, a lot of times I have been in a situation where I built something and people want it. And I'm like, I didn't productize it, right? I just didn't see the opportunity at that moment. And looking back, and of course, everything is looks cool in hindsight. We can see a lot of things in hindsight. Um, because your vision is not blurred by the operational things and the daily things, right? So in hindsight you can see more, but in hindsight, I would have been able to create a product around it and sell it, probably. And you took the chance. So you saw that it could become a product, and you could commercialize it, and you could put it in the market. I like that. Um, there's one thing I'd like to ask you because, of course, this grew organically, as I would imagine. But when did you? When what was the signal for you to decide to productize it? I mean, you had demand, but what was, let's say, the biggest reason, the biggest signal that you should productize this solution you have?
All right, great question again. So the major target or the major thing we prioritized was a checklist. I would call it a KPI to see if we meet that checklist. And it
Mm,
was to see if that product was solving a need. First,
mm,
actually, does it solve a problem? Is it a viable solution to a problem? That was the first
yeah,
one. Then, secondly, is you could start small, but of course, you have focus to scale. So, is that
yeah,
product scalable, or will it
yeah,
just become or remain a small family solution? It's not scalable.
yeah,
And we looked at it, it was scalable. Thirdly, was it a marketable solution? Would it be difficult to market or not? It was easily
yeah,
marketable. So looking at those three things, solve the problem, it's possible to scale it, and it's a marketable solution. We're fine.
yeah. Yeah, it's like the sweet spot of all startups have these three things, right?
Yeah.
And and yeah, then how did you find the team to do this, or did you already have the team to execute the operations? because
Well,
because having the idea is one thing, have
yeah,
a good product idea or a good product direction, let's say, is one thing, but creating the product, selling the product, marketing the product is the second. So
yeah.
how was the team? Was it already there, or was it like, oh, wait a second, we need some marketeers here?
Well, at first, I wore so many hats. I was doing a lot of things. I was doing
Yeah,
multiple roles, and I mean, a lot of
yeah.
organizations started like that. But along the line, because I had worked in a few industries, and then I was also working for a logistic organization, I had people
Hmm.
who saw value in the product, and immediately they were ready to join in and being part of the solution. So I had my first set of, I would say, layer one team members that joined from initial stage, and they're still with the organization till date.
Yeah,
And
beautiful.
we're able to work that way. And after a couple of months, another person join up, another person comes in, and then like that, and then scale to where we are today.
Yeah. So if I would ask you, what is your number one advice on hiring? Because I can see that you probably have hired good people. Otherwise, if you wouldn't have hired good people, you wouldn't be here, right?
Yeah,
But you probably also hired bad people or bad fits. So what would be your single most important advice on hiring? How do you look at hiring?
great. So when you hiring, of course, you have definitions of things you are looking for in an individual, from the aspect of educational qualification and maybe experience, which are of course very good. But as an organization at NearPays, we have our hierarchy, and what
Hmm.
comes from first is your attitude to work. We put it
Hmm.
above your educational qualification.
Yeah.
And we look at that, and then we talk about your experience, your educational qualification, all those fully underneath. But first is your attitude to work, because I have a perspective personally that I
Hmm.
feel there are things that could be learned, and there are things that are difficult to change in an
Yeah.
individual. You could learn to become maybe a better fisherman
Yeah.
if well guided. But
Yeah.
it's difficult to change someone who's an experienced fisherman and has a bad attitude to work, possibly always comes to work late and never wants to change. It's more difficult to change that than to
Oh,
teach him how to
definitely.
fish better. So,
Yeah.
we prioritize that, and it has really helped us and guided us to, having better fits for each position we hire.
Yeah, interesting. And do you have like a formal way of defining what skills are learnable and what things are on the attitude side? Because it's sometimes easier said than done. and some things are in between, right? So do you have some kind of list that you keep track of, or is that per vacancy that you create a list of attributes you're searching for, and 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 also how do we interview people to understand how their attitude is?
Okay. So first we have a KPI, which we also look at in each hiring, and we have a checklist of what we ask these individuals, and then we have three levels of interviews that we usually do. The checklist gives us insight on your personal behavior or attitude or perspective, ideology also.
Hmm.
So we check your attitude to some things, we check your perspective and your ideology, because it's
Yeah,
also difficult to change someone's ideology.
yeah,
And
yeah.
those are the first three things we look at. And your first interview already tells us if you're going to the next. The first interview is no questions about education, no questions about work. We just want to know you better. Tell me
Ah,
more
yeah.
about you. Tell me how you react if you have this issue at work.
Hmm.
What would you do with your teammates? Are you a team person? Are you not a team person?
Yeah,
What's your ideology towards failure? What's your ideology towards success?
yeah,
Those are your first questions. Nothing about the job, nothing about accounting or development
yeah,
or programming. That gives you out. So if you succeed that, then we can take it forward. So those have helped us streamline the people we employ, and it has always worked perfectly.
yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, let's say if we want to talk about recruitment, I think we can fill a complete episode about it, right?
Yeah.
Because I personally believe that recruitment is the single most important thing in a business besides sales, right? Because you need people, and a company exists of people. It's a group of people doing certain task. So the differentiator is the people most of the times. So another company can copy whatever offer you have, but if they have other people, then they could be they could fail. And because you have your people, it succeeds sometimes. So um, they define quite a large part of strategy. They define quite a large part of operations, execution quality, and so on. It's all people work. Yeah. So what I'm actually interested also in understanding, because you are in Africa, and let's say I'm here living in the Netherlands, and the only images I see from Africa are, or we're looking at your beautiful forests, or we are looking at people that are starving and hungry, poor people. So these two images are actually the biggest images, the images we see the most from Africa. So I'm really curious if you could tell us more about the talent you have there in Africa.
Well, great. Uh, I've lived in Africa more than any part of the world. I think maybe more all my life. I've only visited other continents or other countries, but always back to Africa. And I love one thing. I've had opportunities to maybe relocate, but decided not to because I feel that there are important things that we as entrepreneurs could do to make things better. But in general, I'll talk about the skill set in Africa. Africa has a lot of resources in terms of human resources.
Yeah,
If you check out the demography of startups around the globe, startups growing very well, you see that Africa is doing a lot, building products that are scaling to Europe, that are scaling to the Middle East, that are scaling to different part of the world, and they're doing very well. And you check the engineering team behind those products, a lot of them are Africans. So
yeah,
things are changing. People are getting more exposed. People are learning good skills, and Africa has the resource. Uh, I we built our product in house without sourcing for talent anywhere in the world. It was locally. It
yeah.
was built from the first code to the last, all in house, no external support, and it works pretty well. And our focus is to
Okay.
scale it. So Africa has the resource. Yes, we have the beautiful. Maybe you could come to see the beautiful animals and have
Yep.
time to the safari. Of course, yes, but also there are a lot of resources in terms of human resources in Africa. It's growing rapidly fast because it's a continent with a very young population who is improving on digital skills, digital IT, and I see an opportunity of even having a lot of African founders or African techies, build products that will solve global problem in the nearest future.
Yeah, super beautiful. I like to hear this. It makes me happy. Um, because there's of course inequality in wealth, and I believe there's no inequality in talent, because we have talented people everywhere in the world, and this talent should also get a podium, let's say, to help solve the problems we have in the world, because let's say we have quite some challenges in the world, especially if we're looking at AI, if we're looking at a lot of things that are happening in the world. We need smart people to work on good solutions for us to be able to maintain prosperity in general. So I'm happy to see that the world is finding Africa more and more often, also in the aspect of talent. So that's beautiful. I think also Africans speak English very well. A lot of African countries speak French, so there is no language barrier. It's not there is no huge language barrier. Whereas if you look at other countries, maybe that do have talents, um, there is, or they might be, a language barrier, and you don't see that very often in Africa. And sometimes something bad brings you something good, right? So we have the colonialization of Africa, which is definitely something bad,
Yeah.
but because of it, the result of it is that Africans were able to speak languages that are attractive for people here. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. That being said, I'm also curious about the fintech space, because normally fintech is a very tough technical space. How do you solve the talent issue there?
Well, so the fintech, like you've mentioned, it could get very complicated and it has a lot of moving parts, which you
Yeah,
always have to stay on your feet. In fact, I would say one of the most complicated aspects is the compliance. But
definitely. Yeah,
yeah, but well, in terms of talent, like I mentioned, they have been very good talent or engineers who can handle products and build very very good solutions. And we've had the likes of Flora Wave, that's a unicorn known globally,
mm,
and most of its engineers are Africans. We've seen a
mm,
few countries in Africa trying to even build a talent city where people can have access to learn and reside within a cluster where you could reside, you could learn, you could also work. A lot of countries are trying to do that. I think Nigeria is trying to do one in Lagos. I think Nairobi, Kenya is trying to do one. Kigali is trying. Like more countries are, coming to the light of digital knowledge and acquisition for the youth. So
mm.
when you're building, you really do not have that constraint of having good engineers or good talent to even handle all of your products development.
Super cool, super cool. So also on the in the fintech space, there are fintech specialists also just available in Africa, because this is something like the whole world is struggling with fintech specialists,
Yeah.
right? That are able to work within the lines of certain compliancy or standards. It is quite challenging. Yeah. So about compliancy, and I'm also interested in the beginning, because I think as you scale up, you have more power to solve compliance issues. But when you started, how did you manage to get compliant? How did you get licenses?
Oh, that was a tough one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So fintech is just circled around regulations and compliance. You have different parties. I think it's one of the most regulated space, possibly globally. You have central banks. You have other financial regulators, both international and also local. It was a lot. It's not just one or two or three. It could be up to 10 or 20. Yeah, depending on
Yeah.
your space. And you have to be compliant with all of those regulators. So at first, of course, we didn't have the resources. So we had to leverage on partnership. So
Ah,
we had to see how we could partner with an organization to run under their rails until we have the resources, to stand out, and
yeah.
then we can have our own solution. And it also becomes a bit different when you are now taking a step to scale to more countries. So, if for example you're just in Nigeria, you're dealing just with Nigeria. When you go to Ghana, then you have Nigeria and Ghana.
Yeah.
When you go
Yeah.
to Kenya or South Africa, you have Nigeria. So it keeps getting
Yes.
bigger as you scale. But I think I love what I'm seeing in Africa. There's been a partnership deal with
Hmm.
Ghana, Kenya, and Rwanda having just one compliance.
Oh,
So
that
if
is beautiful.
yeah, if you're compliant in Ghana as a financial institution, you are good to operate in Kenya and Rwanda, which is good. It
Yeah.
makes it simpler. It encourages companies to also scale faster and creates better business opportunities. So hopefully, would maybe in the nearest future we just have to provide just one compliance, and then you're good in the whole of Africa, possibly.
Yeah, that would be really good. That would be really good. Yeah. So, where are you scaling now? Are you also trying to enter new countries at the moment?
Yes, so we are live in Nigeria and in Ghana, currently already scaling to Rwanda, Kenya, and Uganda. We also have South Africa on the look in the pipeline, but currently we're already almost done with Rwanda and also Uganda.
Yeah, beautiful. Right. That sounds like a great plan. Aren't you afraid, or let's say, afraid is maybe a big word, but what if the compliance, the full African compliancy framework will be done after you enter all these countries? Isn't that a spilled effort?
Well, I would say as an entrepreneur, I live my life on a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah.
I could be thriving in a country and then it has a new president and it brings in a totally new rule.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so I live on a lot of uncertainty. The only thing is that I try as much as possible to have structures. The structures would keep you if things change. You should also be able to withstand pressure and you could bounce back easily. Yeah.
yeah, beautiful. Yeah, because I'm just teasing you, of course, but so some people can think in that way, that they will be like, okay, wait, let's just wait until the regulations are there, and then we can expand in one go over complete Africa, so we don't need to spend money on that part. Yeah, so there are pros and cons. I'm always interested in how people take such a decision. Yeah, beautiful. I think it's very valuable. So you have the beginning, you started this product and you started to sell it around in your own network, but then starts the moment that you would expand to the colder network. How did you experience this step? Because what I see is that a lot of founders scaling up struggle with that part. So they are very able to sell within their current network or from word to mouth. But if you want to keep scaling, you need to create new structures or create a new framework or an engine to expand beyond. that first network. So, how did you experience that part?
Great. From experience, I've noticed that the hardest time or the hardest group of people to sell a product to are your friends.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
could
yeah, yeah,
sell, I could sell a solution to a stranger and they're ready to try, but my friends be like, "Oh, no, I know that guy. Are you sure he can do something cool?"
yeah, yeah, yeah. They
Yeah,
always
and
underestimate you, right?
of course.
Yeah.
And well, I took time to also be part of my sales. Like I mentioned earlier, I wore several hats, and part of the things I did personally was sales because sales is the engine that runs everything or most of the things in your organization. You have a product, you can sell it. It's just there.
Yeah.
So I took time to be part of sales, and I understood some things about sales. The first is that you have to have your structures on the product because
Hmm.
having a bad feedback or a bad review changes everything. So
Yeah.
you do your homework first. When you have some level of certainty about the product, then you could go out and sell. And about sales is that if you have the product so good, organic referrals will happen.
Yeah.
People would become your sales
Definitely.
reps without any pay for free. They
Yeah.
tell the next person tells. So I understood that, and so I made very good use of it. And I also had other partners who would support. And the second thing I did was understanding the impact of volumes. If I sell
Hmm.
to you a payment product, you could possibly do maybe $5,000 transaction in a month, maybe
Yeah.
at tops. But if
Yeah.
I take that same energy and sell to an organization who has 1,000 people, I could be talking about maybe 20 million.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I understood that part and we were able to iterate the product to also focus on B2B. And that helped us in terms of scaling and also growth.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, exactly. Especially as fintechs is your business model is based on transactions, right?
Yeah.
So you need volume. You need volume. You don't need big names with low volume. You need whatever company that does a lot of volume.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful, interesting. Yeah, so we are ourselves mostly in the B two B SaaS, and then we search for large deals but low volume, and which is mostly high ticket, and that is a different type of game, I think. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Um, and maybe the last technical questions, technical question here. As you grow, you don't take any decision yourself anymore. How do you grow a leadership team in the correct way? What's your take on that? Because in the end, as you grow, you need other people to take important decisions, and the more you grow, the more important these decisions they can take become. So how do you get the right people around you, and how do you grow their leadership power, let's say?
Good question. I'll start with maybe a sort of like a story. Someone once said, if you want to know if you have a good team as a founder or a CEO, take 1 month leave.
Oh yeah,
And if you come back and you still meet a functional organization, then yes, you have a good team. But if after 2 days everybody's trying to reach you, oh, things have gone wrong, then you
yeah,
know you don't have a good team.
exactly.
When building an organization, you could start small, which is fine. But when you're talking about scaling, right now we're talking about maybe 6, 7 countries. I can't be everywhere at the same time. I
Yeah,
have to delegate. I have to have people who would manage. So you need to start up that. First is that you need to have a company culture. You have, of course, you have some institutions in your company. You should be able to pass that on to the next person. So if you're a customer, the same way I will interact with you will be the same way the next person will. No difference because we
yeah,
have a culture, which is a
yeah,
foundation. And if you have that in place, then you can grow a leadership team that would
Mm.
do or handle each request or organization challenges or solutions or problems, whatever, this almost the same way you do so. So, which is very important. You start doing that from day one. You have you should have your culture. It's going to be an issue if I go to the Apple Store in the US and to fix something, and I go to another Apple Store in maybe in Africa, and it's totally different, totally
Different, yeah.
different feedback. Then there's a problem. It should be very
Yeah, yeah.
similar. Yeah. So you start that early, and that helps you scale. It could be everywhere. It could be in 100 places, and you're still doing very fine.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Back in the days, I started a foundation where we gave free education to children, and it was very successful when we had a couple of locations that were in the region. But the more we expanded, the more we started to see things breaking. And this is exactly what happens if you do this wrong, right? So we had, because it was close and we were all in one area. I had a lot of influence, or the founding team had a lot of influence in that area. And then when we started to expand, you would not be able to run things also there. And we found out that the mistake we had made was that we didn't delegate the right decisions. We didn't create a leadership culture good enough to be able to run all these different, yeah, departments or locations for us. And what you are saying actually is you should start with culture, create processes around this culture, and then if you get leaders, they have something to leave from. So they have a starting point. They can take that into another location, and then they can run the things in the same way as in the other locations. And I think this is very important for a lot of founders that are expanding their work, to understand that if you are not able to make the decisions, or you are not able to be influential into this in this location, uh, um, you need strong people, but you need a strategy on how to enable these people to take decisions. And that is something that's often forgotten. So it's very valuable to hear from you how you have done that.
Thank you.
um, Before we close, because I really enjoyed the conversation, and I just want to hear from you. What is your future perspective? What are you aiming for?
Well, cool. We started small, which I said earlier, and it's very okay to start small. But our aim is to have a global audience. We
Hmm.
have a blueprint on a few African countries we're scaling to, and it's not just going to stop there. So we've seen ourselves scaling beyond even Africa, being in Europe, being in Asia, and touch basically every part of the world. And it's not just about the growth, because growth, if not done well, it's going to destroy everything. But
Hmm.
what we are aiming for is to see how we can continue providing that value to everyone. So we have a
Yeah,
value that we provide. We don't just want to dish it in Africa. We want you to have
yeah,
a taste of it in Asia. We want you to have a taste of it in the US, wherever you are. And that's our aim, providing same product, more opportunities across the globe. Also, part of the problem, which we're also seeing and seeing how we could also support to fix, is when you talk about cross payment in Africa.
mm,
A lot of organizations still do that a lot, but it's still fragmented and still not done well. It's still
yeah,
expensive. There are still delays. There are still challenges, and those are our targets. We're building gradually, and we're making sure we do things in a very good and unified way. And those are the challenges we'll see that we'll solve on a global standpoint.
Yeah, beautiful. I really like that you are very impact focused, and I can hear that in the way you speak about the future perspective, right? So I like that a lot. And if people are listening, what how can they help you in your journey to achieve such an impact?
Great. So, like I mentioned, we're starting here and then we're going forward. I haven't lived so much outside of Africa, so of course we need mentors. We need people to guide us because products are different in every environment. There are environmental differences.
Yeah.
There are people's perspective to different needs, to different solutions. So we need mentors to guide us. We need partners to
Mhm.
work with us, and that will really do us some good because time is very important. If we do it the wrong way, we waste a lot of time and resources. But if we have people to guide us, we save that. So that's one of the most important things to us.
Yeah, interesting. And partners, what kind of partners? I want to go very specific. So, like, let's make it a call out.
Sure. Payment partners, in terms of other financial institutions, yeah, warranty
Mhm.
partner, compliance partners. Of course, we also want people who are ready, possibly could join our board of directors, partners in that light who have experience in the finance space in their region. And yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
definitely.
much investors also.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. Good to hear that. And if they want to get into contact with you, how do they do that? Is that on your LinkedIn page? Because we spoke through LinkedIn, of course.
Yeah.
Do we have a certain page for the company? What is the best way to get in touch?
Sure. You could just go straight to my website,
Hmm.
victordaniel.com. You have my LinkedIn, my Twitter, my email, whatever.
Oh yeah.
Everything you have
Perfect.
access, whichever means is comfortable, you can reach out to me from there.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so for our listeners, Victor is very approachable. Let's follow him on his journey. I want to thank you a lot, Victor, and yeah, hopefully we will have a lot of these chats in the future. Let's keep in touch.
Thank you. Thank you so much to everyone. Thank you.